When you can't make your budget at the end of the month, you are forced to cut or take on more debt, and you're forced to prioritize. And that same thing happens with the government. A lot of people don't know what the government's priorities are, but I'm here to tell you I know for a fact what one of them is. So let's take a look at the story. It's from the Wall Street Journal. And it talks about the debt ceiling. Okay, so the debt ceiling clash revives dispute over paying bondholders first. And this is what I'm here to tell you. It's 100% they are going to pay bondholders first. And I'll tell you why as we go through this article. So, reading from the article here, the latest fight over raising the debt limit has renewed a debate over whether the government should pay some bills and delay others if the White House and Congress fail to raise the cap uh, before it is breached, meaning the debt ceiling. Some Republicans say that the Treasury Department can and should give priority to paying bondholders of U.S. government securities to prevent default on the debt and to minimize any harm for the financial system. That would mean delaying payments of other government obligations such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, etc., such as bills for transportation, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so why do I say I know one of their priorities? Why would their priority be paying bondholders first? Well, what happens if they don't pay bondholders? Their rating goes down, meaning their desirability for bondholders goes down. So, if they take on more debt, it's going to be more expensive or impossible. And that's one thing that's for sure. They will take on more debt. And they know that. So, this is why I say priority number one, this is before Social Security, it's before Medicare and Medicaid, is paying interest on the debt because no more debt can be taken out, essentially, if they don't pay. Make sense? So, as the debt becomes bigger, as the interest payments become bigger, that priority becomes a larger piece of the pie when it comes to tax receipts. See the problem? But I can guarantee you this that is a priority of the US government. All right, back to the article. Outside analysts warn giving priority to debt payment over other obligations could lead to market volatility, meaning they aren't paying out their Social Security checks, et cetera, et cetera. There's a scenario where they could continue to make these payments and attempt to ensure that we do not default, says Shai Agabus, Director of Economic Policy. The Treasury for now is using special measures to keep making payments, such as suspending investments for certain government accounts, government employee accounts, the G Fund. But those maneuvers will only buy so much time, and it could lose their effectiveness as soon as June. This is what Janet Yellen is saying. She said she can buy time by not buying bonds for or investing for the G Fund for government employees. So they're essentially robbing from Peter to pay Paul. But what she is saying is, hey, we can't do this past June. Ms. Yellen said repeatedly that failing to meet any government obligations, would be unacceptable. This is why I say it's rule number one: bondholders get paid, and would cause economic chaos. Observers shouldn't assume it is operational and feasible to give priority to payments, she said in an interview Sunday. Meaning, she's kind of like calling her bluff. Hey, you need to raise the debt ceiling because who's to say that the Treasury won't pay out Social Security first? I know for a fact you won't, because you won't be able to borrow any more money, especially at low interest rates. So this is kind of jockeying in politics, but really what it comes down to is I can guarantee this. Both sides of the aisle know that they come hell or high water, they are going to pay their bondholders first, even if that means screwing grandma out of Social Security. Okay. There are some maybe ignorant politicians that don't think that, but that I guarantee you that's going to happen in Washington. Failing to raise the debt ceiling could lead ratings firms to downgrade the U.S. debt, like I just said, which could raise borrowing costs. Would for sure. Standard & Poor's downgraded U.S. federal debt for the first time in 2011 after lawmakers ended a debt ceiling standoff by reaching a deal That didn't include debt reduction measures that the S&P wanted. And you can Google this. The head of Standard and Poor's after that had to resign. Don't you start knocking down our don't in the United States, we got a lot of power, uh, and we swing it around. So if these independent ratings agencies downgrade our debt, um, we'll figure out who it was and fire them or get them to fire themselves. Okay. On Wednesday, a group of 10 Senate Republicans introduced legislation that would give priority to debt servicing payments, salaries for troops, and Social Security, Medicare, and veterans benefits. So they would, when it comes down to it, as tax receipts come in, here's the priority of things you need to pay first. Notice number one, debt servicing payments. It would allow the Treasury to raise the debt limit to cover those payments in-house without Congress raising it. So they're kind of trying to give unilateral, well, not unilateral, but control to Congress or to the Treasury to at least prioritize rule number one, paying bondholders, rule number one. And then Congress will tell them where to allocate the rest of the money. But why this is funny to me is it's like these people who want to ignore math all day long, they just want to ignore it. They want us to live in a fantasy world. And there are some politicians that are standing up and saying, no, we cannot do this. They're forced to make a decision, and the decision is politically unpalatable. Cut spending. It's never popular. All right, back to the article here. Even if the Treasury were given priorities for debt servicing payment, it likely cannot choose which other bills to pay, says Brian Rydell, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, a conservative think tank, meaning, hey, you're in charge of the money coming in and out, not what you spend it on. So we're going to let you have a little carte blanche to pay bondholders. And that's it. Over the course of the year, tax revenue covers about 80% of government spending. See any problem there? Which means not raising the debt limit would imply spending $1.2 trillion less a year, said Mr. Rydell. It's just peak clown world, folks. We cannot spend more than we make and not have inflation. Can't have our cake and eat it too. So this is the best part. Making debt payments but not paying for federal operations such as Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid could also prompt legal challenges, such as from government contractors who might question whether foreign debt holders should be paid before them, meaning giving China their interest on the U.S. treasuries they hold. And he further says, you're telling voters that we're going to make sure Chinese bondholders get paid before your cousin's veterans health care benefit and before your kids' school lunches, he said. Yep, that's what we're saying. And that's the pickle we're in, folks. It's not this binary thinking of, okay, fine. We don't pay China. We don't pay Japan. We don't pay all these massive bondholders in the United States. What does that mean for taking on future debt? So we'll cut one way or another. We either cut these benefit programs, or we say, you know what, we're going to, and maybe that's the long game for the United States, is like figure out a moral reason to default on Chinese debt. But if we say to China, we're not gonna pay you what we owe you, that's fine. Say we do that. What country, what sovereign do you think would want to come to the United States and say, hey, we want to put our extra cash in U.S. treasuries? Would you do that? I wouldn't do that. So this is what they're thinking through, folks. And I don't know. It's getting heated at the House because reality is hitting them square in the face, which is good. Let me know what you guys think of these priorities, and do you agree with me that priority number one will always be paying bondholders? Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See y'all in the next one. Peace.